welcome. Nice to have you with us as we kick over broadcast day here on the great SiriusXM 82 as we discuss what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned with Billy Z and Eddie Erickson and Colin Schmeling and yours truly, Christopher Russo, here on Mad Dog Unleashed as we get going here on this Tuesday afternoon, the 15th day of May, the year 2018. We'll do a little Chris Christie and the gambling aspect, that a little bit later on today. For those of you wrapped up on that, I'm sure we'll get into Robinson Cano today. We'll get into that and some thoughts as far as the baseball scenario is concerned. And we'll get into the Capitals and Lightning, little Winnipeg and Vegas. That, of course, for our day, too. But we'll begin today with the Warriors, and we'll begin with the NBA Western Conference Finals. 888 Mad Dog 6 is your two-way sports talk telephone number as we get the show and put it on the rails on this Tuesday. All right, listen, Harden played a wonderful, but he can't play better than Harden did. He played an absolutely wonderful basketball game. He scored 41 points. He missed 10 shots. He had made his free throws as he usually does. You know, he filled up his box score with other good things, with assists. Now listen, he had some turnovers. He had 4 big ones and a couple late. But, you know, if you're going to get 41 out of Harden and he's going to go 5 from 9 from 3 and he's going to have 7 assists and 4 rebounds and a steal and everything else, you're going to have to, in 35 minutes, you're going to have to take that, and you're going to have to hope that if you're a Rocket fan, that is good enough to win yourself some games here in this final against the Warriors in the Western Conference. Because, you know, that's everybody else on that team is going to, you know, basically do their deal from him. You know, Paul had his 20-something. Capella had his 4 or 5 dunks. Eric Gordon, after a horrendous beginning, made a contribution. And, you know, that's all you can really ask for. They scored 110. They scored 106 points. They shot 46%. They made 13 threes. I mean, they out-rebounded Golden State. I mean, they did what they had to do. For the most part, I know that Tony thought it was a little uneven offensively, but I thought overall, now Ariza got in foul trouble, and P.J. Tucker did nothing, and Mute missed 6 shots. I get that, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, they got 12 points out of Capella, they got 23 out of Paul, and they got 15 out of Gordon, and they got Gerald Green made a couple threes, and they had a huge game out of Harden. You know, 9 times out of 10, that's going to win your game in the NBA playoffs. Well, 9 times out of 10 is not Golden State, and the Warriors just have way, way too much firepower for any of these teams. I mean, they got off to the bad start last night. They were down 21-12. A 9-point deficit that's not the first time they've seen that in the postseason in the last 3 or 4 years. They figured out a way to get the game stabilized. They were tied at the half. They had these big third quarters, and, you know, the game was not over with 6 minutes to go, but they were in pretty good shape down the stretch. They got 3 huge weapons offensively. I mean, they got nothing out of Green. Iguodala didn't do a lot either, but when you have Curry and when you have Durant and you have Klay Thompson, if 2 of the 3 play pretty well, you're going to have a tough time beating them. And if 3 play well, you got no chance. And they had, one was superb, Durant. The other one was excellent in Thompson, and Curry was okay with 18. So if that is the case, I don't know how you can beat them. Nobody's going to beat him anyway. We understand this, but I don't know how you can beat him. I mean, last night Durant made every shot known to man. He's 6'10", 7 foot tall. He can get any shot he wants at any time. He has 37 points in a game. He makes his free throws. He hits threes. He can go to the basket. I mean, Durant is he's the second best player in the league. By far, he's the second best player in the league. And he is, in a lot of ways, he's almost more diversified than LeBron is. He's a better shooter than LeBron. He's a better shooter. He may not be as good all around, passing the ball and all those kinds of things, and rebounding. He only had 3 rebounds, but I mean, as far as his actual offensive game and his diversity offensively, he might be better than Durant. And then, of course, Thompson is wide open shooting threes. And, Curry, again, has his moments where, last night he had 18 and, he doesn't play any defense. But he has his moments and, they're just too good. There's just too much weaponry. There's too much firepower. There is too much big guns a-blazing on this Golden State team. And we all knew, like I said the other day with the Celtics, I thought Boston had to win game 1 in that series against Cleveland just to establish themselves in that series after last year, Cleveland in 5. The fact that the Cavs had won 5 in a row, buried Toronto. I thought it was important. I thought a little psyche advantage for LeBron against the Celtics and the Eastern Conference opponents. I thought it was important for Boston to really, get up and get going right out of the gate on Sunday, and they did that. They had a big first quarter, and they put LeBron on his heels, and away they went, and they blew the Cavs out, won by 30 points. And, that is the way they needed to start in this Eastern Conference final. I thought the Rockets, I didn't expect the blowout, but I thought the Rockets needed to win this first game, too, essentially for the same reasons. Somebody's got to put a little fear in Golden State. It's not going to be the Eastern Conference in the final. Somebody with Durant on his team's got to put a little fear in them. I don't know who that's going to be. Houston's, they can score. They go about it a lot differently than the Warriors do, but, with Harden with the ball top of the key with the court spread out and his creativity, and I'm not a big fan, but I have to admit he can do basically a little bit of everything. He can pass, he can shoot, he can dribble, he can go to the basket. I'm not a big fan, but he can do a little bit of everything. And again, 41 last night. You can't ask for any more than that. You're a Rocket fan. If I would have told you before game 1 he was going to miss 10 shots, score 41 points, hit his threes, you'd have signed up for that. In a heartbeat, you'd have signed up for that. You got it, you lost. He's not going to play that great all these games. He has played very well, as we saw last night in the game 1s in his postseason. Utah and previously Minnesota, he's been very, very good, and they won both the game 1s. Last night he was excellent, and they lost. So I thought, a la Boston, it was very, very important for Houston to get themselves off the snide and get themselves in good shape. Now, I even think it was more important for Houston than it was for the Celtics. First off, Golden State's tremendous in their building. They've won 15 in a row in that place. That is as good as it gets. Last year they won, 2 and 3, so that's 6-9. 2 against the Spurs is 11. 3 against the Spurs, and then 3 against the Pelicans. That's 15 games. That's an NBA record, and I think that Houston's going to have a very, very hard time of walking into the Oracle and winning a game. Now, again, Houston's a weird team because any game, last night they shot 37 threes and they shot 48 twos. Any game that they want, they can go out there and they can make any game. It's possible they can make 23s. There's really any game they can do that. And if they do that, they score 60 on three-point land shots. They're going to be, they might steal one. But that is what it's going to take against this Warrior team. That is what it's going to take. And the Warriors played well. They shot 52%. The Warriors, they got 3 guys, the 3 biggies played well. They got something out of Livingston and Nick Young. Livingston's very good. Young is, he's a deadly shooter. They got a little something out of those 2 guys, and they did what they had to do. And, Draymond Green did nothing. See, that's where Draymond Green is overrated. And that is where the fans who put Draymond Green in the Hall of Fame, they go, Baga. The Draymond Green last night, now he has 9 assists, but those assists are overrated because I can get the ball at the top of the key, pass it to Thompson on the left side, and he can knock down a 3, and it's an assist. The assist bookkeeping in nowadays NBA basketball is a joke. That is essentially what he can do. If he's not driving to the basket and setting up opponents setting up teammates for dunks, what he is doing, he's at the top of the key, he passes it over to Curry, and he launches some 30, and he makes it. Oh, assist for Draymond Green. So it's a little overrated when you talk about that. But last night, he was really into anything. He got in foul trouble. He got a tee early. He had 5 points. He had 4 rebounds. Oh, I'm sorry, he had 9 rebounds. I apologize. He had he had 9 boards, all defensive rebounds. He had 5 points and 9 rebounds. And that is where Green's a little overrated. Hall of Famers in conference championships got to do a little better than 5 points. Go tell me a game that McHale had 5 points and 9 rebounds in a big playoff game as a starter. You're going to look long and hard. I can't guarantee you that. That's where Green, he gets a little bit of a pass because that's camouflaged by everybody else doing so well. You forget, you look at Green's box score, you see, geez, he was 1 for 3 from 3. I'm sorry, he was 0 for 1 from 3, 1 for 5 from the field. He made 3 free throws, had 3 turnovers, and he had 5 points. And I'm supposed to go gaga about Draymond Green. And he'll play better as the series goes along. And he does other things, don't get me wrong. But that's where I think he's a touch overrated because he cannot put the ball in the basket. When the season's on the line, he cannot do that. But he doesn't have to with this Golden State team. He fits the group perfectly. And this is going to be a very hard series now for Houston to be competitive in. I mean, we all thought that was the game they had to have. And there is a part of Houston that scares me as a fan because I think once Houston sees the writing on the wall, I think Houston's going to totally collapse. They have done it in the past. Harden's got a history of doing it. They did it last year with Houston, with San Antonio in Game 6. When they did it in Oklahoma City, Harden did a long time ago when he was playing Miami in the final. When they begin to see the desperation that they are in, and not going to see it yet. They got a home game coming up there. It's only one game. They're not going to see it yet. But if they lose on Wednesday night and they're down, 15 in the second quarter in Game 3, they might cash in their chips for the year. And that's where they're going to have some trouble. I just don't see Houston, I see them going belly up once they get in trouble. I don't see them kicking and screaming out the door. That's me. Now, maybe I'll be wrong. That's me. Their history says they won't do that. And once they see their plight, whenever that might be, and they're professional athletes, they're not going to see it right this second. But once they find themselves, if they lose Wednesday in a 2-0 hole, going out to Golden State needing to win 2 games just to stay in the series, and they're down, 45-23 early second quarter on Friday night. They might, on Sunday night, remember this is the NBA playoffs, they extended months. Sunday night, you are going to be in a situation where it could get ugly for them. And they didn't do anything wrong last night. All right, they scored 119 points. They're going to score 119 points. There's too much. They have too much. They got one of the best shooters in the history of the sport, and they got Durant, who's the top 15 player of all time. That's just too much. Plus Thompson, who's a heck of a player. It's too much. Then Green does this little thing, and let's throw Iguodala in there. Let's throw Livingston in there. We'll give you Nick Young. It's just too much. It's too much. So now the drama is going to be in the East. That's what it comes down to me. You thought going into the postseason this year that the network that had the Western final would have a big final because of Golden State and Houston, and maybe you'd get Toronto and Indiana in the East. As it turns out, the drama, which is the way it usually works, Sabrini, the drama might very well be in the East, because now the drama, they're playing for second place, and we all know that. But there is something to win a conference. Now the drama is essentially going to be tonight and how the Cavs respond after getting a blowout in game number 2. Cavs lose tonight, they're going to lose this series. I even Cleveland, and I know you don't say anything until they lose a home game, and it's LeBron. I think the Celtics, you're going to have to break their little winning streak in the TD Bank North eventually, because, if Cleveland doesn't win a road game, they don't win a series. And they have won 1 million home games already. I mean, that is 8 straight playoff games at home Sunday for the Celtics. And if you make it 9 tonight, I don't know where you're going to beat them in that building. Even LeBron, we discussed this yesterday, the great player in the history of the NBA normally has home court in the postseason. Very rarely do they have to win that 7th game on the road, the great player, because he's normally on the best team. Now, there's some examples. Jordan had to play a Game 7 in Detroit once, so there are examples. But generally speaking, the best players got home court by his lonesome. I know Kobe and Shaq played a Game 7 in Sacramento, so I understand that. But generally speaking, the best player, Russell always had Game 7s usually in his building. As simple as that. Kobe usually, whoever they may be, had the Game 7s in his building. He's not going to have that here now for LeBron. So that's a dangerous slope for him. That game has got some juice tonight. Celtics, they seem to know a knockout punch. They're going to have to withstand that tonight because Cleveland's going to come out raring to go. We'll see how the Celtics respond. That's the storyline right now in the NBA. It is not the Rockets. 18 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.